Welp, Die Kaiser's back. Hey there guys, Noah here. Welcome back to another Vanguard discussion video. We had a lot revealed recently in this new craziness that went down during the Thursday stream. I'm going to discuss it and my overall takes with Die Kaiser, as well as the potential future for the new mechanic that it just introduced and what the potential future for encounters actually might be. So without further ado, let's just dive in. So I do want to start by preferencing that I am fucking hyped for Die Kaiser. And I know a lot of people, including Different Fight, they're absolutely hyped and they're ready to go for Die Kaiser. I am going to be playing this deck day one. I'm going to actually, because you know what? I didn't want to play DP back when it was just Dayusha, because I found it a bit underpowered. But now that it's getting essentially its own, thing with D-Legion, which is basically Legion from back in the day, except not as broken. And I'll get into that now. So, Die Kaiser in himself basically has, the typical, guard restrict that you would expect out of him. But it's a once per turn, or I think it's more like a once per, fight kind of thing. But that's fine. Just simply because you can Legion. I don't think I need to, explain how much of a big deal this is. So he essentially has his typical shield break, except you don't need to have a grade 3 drive checked for the effect. You can literally just activate it whenever, as long as you don't have the starter in the bind zone, which is really good. And so that kind of revolves around the whole point with D-Legion. So this basically leads into my next major thing with this, which they revealed first initially, and that is how the new mechanic is D-Legion. Now you notice that Die Kaiser himself doesn't have the Persona Ride icon, and that's fine, because D-Legion is basically what happens when you take Legion and you actually make it balanced. So when it comes to D-Legion as a whole, it's still both you and the opponent have to be on grade 3 to Legion, but the Legion cost is sending 2 normal units back and 2 triggers that aren't heals and OTs to actually perform the Legion. And I think in a lot of sense, this is a lot more balanced, because imagine this being one of the only decks in the game that could actively send their over trigger back after being used. I think that would be incredibly broken, especially since, God forbid, you keep seeing it off a draw or something, and you're able to just call it, ditch it, or whatever, put it to drop so you can send it back in like how you can in Premium. No, that's not how it's going to work here in Standard. And honestly, I think that's a lot more fair and balanced. I do get, the overall, Legion was just not a balanced mechanic when it was introduced. So to see that they actually were okay, yeah, you need at least put 2 cards that are normal units back into Legion, that makes it a lot more fair, because then that way it doesn't invalidate a lot of other decks that can actually send cards back in. So, very positive change overall. But what does this mean overall for encounters as a whole? Because I think a lot of people now with this reveal are probably looking towards potentially something like Brawlers or Thingsaver coming back into the limelight, and I would love to see that. Except, I don't know if that's actually going to be the case. If this is the general direction where we're going to assume that D-Legion is just going to be the new thing going forward, then it's more than likely that other encounter decks are going to receive D-Legions in the future. One that probably immediately comes to my mind in particular is Almighty Minerva, because it has a kind of similar connotation with the base Minerva. And yes, Almighty Minerva was initially a stride, but keep in mind, I don't see a world where Minerva gets a stride exclusive to itself. I think that would be a little too broken. So one thing I could see them doing is essentially giving us a D Legion for Minerva to give, you know, Genesis and Regalia support in Standard as well, without having to make a Stride deck or whatever for it. So in general, D Legion as a whole is a very interesting mechanic. I could definitely see a lot of decks getting a D Legion specifically for encounters, because then you don't have to make dedicated Stride support that much, and that would actually really be interesting to see when you combine, you know, the base like versions of like the encounter support, and then you have decks, you know, the Stride decks, and then you have D Legion, which is basically doing its own thing, and that's actually really cool to see. And if this is the general direction they're gonna keep going for, then I'm all for it. Now, that being said though, how many of these decks are actually going to have premium implications? I don't think too many will. Like, Die Kaiser in himself requires an Energy Blast for one of his skills, so who knows, maybe there will be something for it. I mean, it'd be kind of cool. Like, imagine, like, just being able to sit there and go, okay, I have, you know, Overlord the Cross, or potentially, you know, Draconic Kaiser Crimson. You know, there's just like a bajillion different other combinations of cards that they could possibly do for this, and I'm just hyped for it, because now it seems like they're trying to give Legacy like support inside of Standard and just readapting it to be not only fair but actually very cool and interesting. So let me know, you guys, your takes in the comment section below, what you think about Die Kaiser, about the new stuff getting revealed, the whole 9 yards, and let me know also if you think that we're also going to get a different D Legion as well in this set as well, because I'm willing to bet money that Almighty Minerva in itself will be a D Legion, and it will probably coincide alongside their base Minerva. So let me know your guys' takes on that in the comment section. And until next time, this is Nova, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye, everyone.